I've been a yoga instructor for 6 years. I love it. I work in a rural area, so I have a small but loyal group of customers. I feel like I really get to know them all. On Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I have my beginner class. Until recently, that group was my favorite. It was mostly older women who took their health very seriously, but weren't afraid to joke around. The whole vibe changed though when I got a new client, Nina. She was in her mid-20s, decades younger than anyone else there. She was in much better shape too, but because of her work schedule, the beginner class was the only one she could take. Our cycles were much too easy for her, so she would constantly complain if we went too slow, or laugh at the other women if they needed extra help. I had to speak with her several times, but she never changed her attitude. A few women transferred to another group just to get away from her. It got so bad I had to kick her out. If she couldn't behave herself, she wasn't welcome.
Well, you're the only yoga studio in town, so I'm going to keep coming. You can either accept my money or not.
I wasn't going to call the cops on her, so I just dropped it. In her next class, she came back just as bitchy as ever. After a while, everyone got used to ignoring her comments. Now that she didn't get any reactions, she started behaving herself, more or less. And then we got another student, the only male in the group. He was a Chinese man in his 50s, wonderful guy. Everyone called him Mr. Lee. He was a gentleman, very soft-spoken. He said he joined the class in honor of his late wife, Lily. She recently died when a drunk driver hit their car. With her dying words, she made him promise to take care of himself after she was gone. It was a very heavy story to share on his first class. Everyone offered him sympathy except for Nina, who pretended to cry but was actually giggling. I didn't scold her because Mr. Lee didn't realize she was laughing at his tragedy, and I didn't want to make the situation worse. Mr. Lee attended the classes for several weeks, easily making friends with everyone except Nina. He brought potted plants and homemade food as gifts, which I guess is traditional in his culture. For the most part, Nina behaved herself, though she'd still scoff at him and make snide remarks at his limited flexibility. And then, during one class, he brought mooncakes for everyone to try. He said it was a mid-autumn tradition, and this was his first year making them himself. I know they won't be as good as Lily's, but this is my way to honor her memory. I thought it tasted wonderful. Everyone did, including Nina. I could see the satisfaction on her face as she ate it. But just to be a bitch, she acted like it was disgusting.
Maybe try someone else's recipe next time. Your wife adds way too much flour.
Mr. Lee immediately started crying and ran into the changing room. That one little insult really got to him. I felt terrible. I demanded that Nina go into the back and apologize to him. She grumbled like a child but did as I said. I had a feeling she was going to be her usual nasty self, so I told the other ladies to keep warming up and I followed her. I waited outside the door, trying to listen in, hoping that Nina would act like an adult. But what I heard through the door horrified me.
Mr. Lee, I am so sorry for what I did. You know, you're a very handsome man. Don't you think it's time you moved on? Do you like me?
What the hell? He charged out of the room and ran past me. He was gone before I could stop him, and Nina was still standing inside the changing room, smirking, proud of herself.
What? He's cute, and you told me to make it up to him.
I canceled the rest of class and gave everyone their money back. I was not in the right headspace for yoga. None of us were. The next class, I was prepared to physically throw Nina out if she came back. But when Mr. Lee arrived, looking relaxed and happy, he told me not to worry about it. All is forgiven. When Nina arrived, she put her mat right next to his. She kept giving him flirtatious glances, but he ignored her completely. I could tell he had a plan to get back at her. Good for him. After class, he pulled her aside and asked her out on a date. She didn't notice the suppressed hatred in his eyes like I did. Nina gladly accepted and went into the changing room to get ready. I approached Mr. Lee and asked him what he was up to. Just making sure that justice is served. My wife always believed in karma. He glanced over his shoulder and gave me a big smile as he walked out with Nina. Neither of them showed up to the next class, and I got really worried. I didn't think Mr. Lee was capable of anything dangerous or illegal, but you never know. The next week, he came back. He was in a great mood. I asked him if Nina was coming, and he said yes. He also told me to prepare myself. Our class might get interrupted. I had no idea what he meant. Nina arrived a few minutes later. She greeted Mr. Lee with a hug and acted really pleasant. I was very curious about what was going to happen, but I had to get the class started. We got through about 10 minutes of yoga before 2 police officers burst in. Everyone looked shocked except for Mr. Lee.
There she is, officer. That's the driver.
Nina started screaming as the cops grabbed her and read her rights.
What's going on? I didn't do anything.
Mr. Lee waved goodbye as they dragged her out of the room. Then he strolled over to me. Sorry for derailing the class, but I wanted everyone to see. I asked him what she was being arrested for. She's the drunk driver who killed my Lily. She's finally been caught. I couldn't believe it. This whole time he knew that he was in class with the woman who ruined his life. I had so many questions. Why did it take you so long to call the police? Mr. Lee made sure that no one else could hear him. He looked so proud of himself. I needed time to plant the evidence on her car. I could never get over my grief because the real driver was never caught, but Nina deserves this. I feel better already.
Until this summer, Harry was my best friend. We worked at the same office, and on my first day there, I had some trouble figuring out my new job duties. I sort of lied on my resume a little. Harry really helped me out, and he promised to have my back if I ever had any more trouble. He was a lot smarter than me, but he was always patient. Every once in a while, he'd even take on some of my workload if I was lagging behind. Great guy. At least, I thought he was. The only problem was that he was really shy when it came to women. We're both in our early 20s, and I don't think he'd ever had a real girlfriend before. So, to pay him back for all of his help at work, I promised to give him some relationship advice. I'm kind of a ladies' man. I set him up on a couple dates, but he always did something to embarrass himself. Well, earlier this year, our company hired a new receptionist. Her name was Pam, and she was really hot, way out of Harry's league. She walked around the office talking with everyone except Harry. I felt really bad for him. One day, he saw Pam and me talking by the water cooler. After she was gone, he pulled me aside. "I need you to set us up. She's perfect." There was no way that she'd go on a date with nerdy Harry, but I didn't want to disappoint him. He'd already done so much for me. "I'll see what I can do." I waited until after work and then pulled Pam aside when we were both in the parking lot. I told her about Harry, really emphasizing all his good qualities. And I wasn't exaggerating. He had a ton of good qualities. He just, looked like a weasel. "It's so sweet that you care so much for your little friend, but I'm looking for a real man. Like you." And then she proposed something that was both shocking and, really hot. "I'll go on one date with him. That's it. But only if you take me back to your place right now." She leaned closer, and she whispered everything that she wanted me to do to her. It was wild. And, of course, I couldn't say no. I took her back to my place, and learned just how wild she really was. We started meeting up a couple times a week, but we didn't flirt in the office. I didn't love her or anything, and she definitely didn't love me. It was entirely transactional. The weekend after our first time together, Harry took her to a really expensive restaurant for their one and only date. He called me immediately afterwards, raving about how wonderful it was. He said he loved her, which made me feel awful, especially because she was already on her way back to my place. That Monday, she let him down gently. He acted fine at the time, but afterwards I caught him crying in the bathroom. I gave him a little pep talk, which seemed to make him feel better. For the next couple of months, I continued seeing Pam. Harry acted normal, but he always got bummed out when he saw her around the office. One night, Harry came over to my place for dinner. We were planning to hang out and watch a movie. He asked if he could use my bathroom. But when he came out, he acted really awkward and said that he had to go. I couldn't figure out what had happened until I looked in the bathroom and I saw Pam's makeup kit on my sink. Harry had already left. I immediately called him to apologize, but he seemed weirdly calm on the phone. "I'm happy for you, man. No worries. Let's not talk about it." And we didn't. 2 weeks passed and he never brought it up. He acted totally normal. And then, out of the blue, he told me that he was renting a beach house for the weekend. It was an expensive place, and it wasn't a special occasion or anything. He just wanted to get away for a while. He invited me and a couple of our coworkers, including Pam. I didn't think he was planning anything weird. He was acting so normally. And when Pam and I arrived together, he greeted us with big hugs. "Welcome to paradise!" We all hung out on the balcony overlooking the ocean. It was beautiful. Everyone was laughing and having a good time. We all got pretty drunk on wine. Pam was being a little handsy, but for Harry's sake, I kept my distance. By evening, I changed into my swimsuit. The house had an amazing infinity pool that I couldn't resist. I assumed the others would join me later, but I wanted to swim alone for a bit. It's my favorite hobby. I only swam for a couple of minutes before I heard a splash. Someone had just dived in. It was Harry. I saw him swimming under the surface, and he had something with him. It looked like a black box. I wanted for him to resurface so I could ask him what it was, but he stayed under for a long time, swimming by my legs. Then, his hands grabbed my ankle and pulled me down. Everything happened so fast. It took me a few seconds to realize that he was tying my ankle to a weight that he had dropped in the deep end. By the time that I'd realized what he'd done, he had already swum out of my reach. I was trapped. I couldn't reach the surface. I couldn't untie my ankle or move the weight. I thrashed around, really panicking. I was going to drown. I'm an excellent swimmer, but it would only take a minute or two before I died. My heart pounded and my lungs burned. Through my panic, I realized with total clarity that Harry wanted me dead. He didn't forgive me. He had planned this whole trip to get his revenge, and now I only had seconds left. No one would find my body until it was too late. It wasn't fair. Pam wasn't his girlfriend. She didn't even like him. Sure, I could have handled things better, but I didn't deserve to die. My panic very quickly turned to anger, and it was my anger that kept me going. It gave me the clarity to stop thrashing around and the strength to pull the weight inch by inch across the bottom of the pool until I reached the shallow end. Right before I lost my strength, I was able to push my head out of the water and gasp for air. I made it. I survived. I walked to the pool steps where I could steady myself and untie my ankle. And then I pulled out the weight and I trudged back upstairs. The party was still going strong when I walked in, dripping wet. Harry wasn't facing me, but everyone else saw me approach. They all stared in shock. Pam even gasped. Harry was in the middle of a story, so it took him a while to notice the stares. He slowly turned around. Right as I dropped the weight onto his foot, his bones crunched. "Call an ambulance!" The ambulance arrived in 5 minutes. The police arrived a minute after that. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while I was elbow deep in dinner prep, spaghetti sauce simmering. It was my little brother, Jake, texting me out of the blue. He'd been saving up for months, scraping together every dollar from his part-time gig at the coffee shop, and now he had $700 burning a hole in his pocket. He wanted a computer, something decent for gaming and college stuff. "Sis, found this guy on Craigslist," his message read. "Says it's a beast of a machine, worth like $1,000, but he's letting it go for $600. Can you come check it out with me?" I sighed, wiping my hands on a dish towel. Jake was 18, technically an adult, but to me, he'd always been that scrawny kid who hid behind my legs during thunderstorms. I was 28, married with 2 little ones of my own, and my schedule was a nightmare. Work at the hospital as a nurse, plus mom duties. "Can't, buddy," I texted back. "Shift starts soon. But send me the link, I'll look it over." He did, and I scrolled through the ad on my break. The PC sounded legit. High-end graphics card, fast processor, all the bells and whistles. The seller, some guy named Mike, seemed straightforward in his description. No red flags, like blurry photos or sketchy wording. Jake was nervous, though. "What if it's a scam?" he messaged. "Or worse." I rolled my eyes, but I got it. Craigslist could be a minefield, especially for someone as anxious as Jake. He'd always been the jumpy type, jumping at shadows since we were kids growing up in that creaky old house in suburban Ohio. "Tell him to do a Skype call," I suggested. "Show you the PC running. Open it up so I can see the components. I'll join if I can." A few hours later, during my lunch break, I hopped on the call from the nurse's lounge. Mike was this blurry figure on screen at first, but he angled the camera right. The PC lit up like a Christmas tree, fans whirring, lights glowing. He popped the side panel off and showed the guts. Shiny new motherboard. RAM sticks still in their anti-static bags nearby. Boxes for everything stacked neatly. "See? All legit," Mike said, his voice deep but friendly. "Built it myself over the year. Snagged deals on parts." "Looks good," I told Jake via text. "If you can grab it, go for it. Just meet in a public spot, like a Walmart parking lot, and text me when you're done." He agreed, excited now. I finished my shift, picked up the kids from daycare, and crashed on the couch with a glass of wine. Hubby was out late at his job, so it was just me and the chaos. Around 8 p.m., my Skype dinged. It was Mike. "Hey, I got your brother." My heart stopped. I mean, literally froze in my chest. The wine glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor, but I didn't even notice. Blood rushed to my ears, and for what felt like an eternity, 20 seconds maybe, I stared at those words. "I got your brother." What the fuck? My mind went to the darkest places. Kidnapped? Hurt? That sick twist in my gut. The mama bear rage bubbling up. Jake was my baby brother. The one I'd protected from bullies in school. The one who had called me crying after his first breakup. If this asshole had touched him, I'd track him down myself. Visions flashed. Me driving through the night, pounding on doors. Hell, even grabbing the kitchen knife if I had to. No one messes with my family. Then, the typing bubble appeared. Agonizing seconds ticked by. He wanted to meet in the Walmart parking lot. We met up, and I got out to shake his hand, and he just fainted. He's sitting in my SUV. He woke up once and just passed right back out. Fainted? Jake? I grabbed my keys, yelling at the babysitter next door to come over quick. On my way. I typed back to Mike, "Don't move." The drive to Walmart was a blur. 15 minutes of white-knuckling the steering wheel, heart pounding. What if this was a trap? But no, the Skype call had seemed normal. I pulled into the lot, scanning for Jake's beat-up Honda. There it was, parked next to a massive black SUV. I got out, phone in hand, ready to dial 911. And that's when I saw him. Mike stepped around the SUV, and holy the guy was a giant. Had to be at least 7'2", built like a goddamn linebacker crossed with a bodybuilder. Muscles bulging under his t-shirt, arms like tree trunks. He could have bench pressed my car without breaking a sweat. No wonder Jake fainted. The poor kid probably thought that he was about to get mugged by the Hulk. "Hey, you must be the sister," Mike said, extending a hand the size of a dinner plate. His voice was surprisingly gentle, with a slight southern drawl. "I'm Mike. Your brother's okay. Just scared himself silly." I shook his hand, mine disappearing in his grip. Jesus, you're huge, I blurted out, and then laughed nervously. What happened exactly? He chuckled, a deep rumble. We pulled up, I got out to say hi, and bam! He went white as a sheet and dropped. I caught him before he hit the pavement, scooped him up like a sack of potatoes, and put him in the back seat to cool off. I figured he was heat stroked or something at first. He patted my shoulder, gently, thank God, and pointed inside the SUV. There was Jake, curled up in the far back seat, knees to his chest, looking like a terrified kitten. His face was pale, eyes wide when he saw me. I opened the door and leaned in. Jake? Buddy, you okay? Sis, I thought he was gonna rob me. Or worse. He's so big, and when he stepped out, my brain just shut down. I bit back a laugh, relief making me giddy. You fainted? Like Victorian lady style? Don't laugh, he whined, but a small smile cracked. I had $700 in cash. What if he wanted to steal it and, I don't know, touch my butt or something? Kid, I build computers, not rob people, Mike said, shaking his head. And definitely not into that kind of thing. You scared me more than I scared you. Jake flushed red, scrambling out of the SUV. Sorry, man. I just panicked. No worries, Mike replied. First time someone's passed out on me like that. Usually folks are excited about the PC. We transferred the computer parts to Jake's car. Tower, monitor, all the boxes. As Jake loaded up, I chatted with Mike to ease the awkwardness. So, how'd you get into this? He leaned against his SUV, arms crossed. Started as a hobby. I'm a truck driver by day, but I watch for sales on Newegg, Amazon. Buy parts piecemeal throughout the year, assemble them, sell them for a bit of profit. Keeps the wife happy. Extra cash for vacations. You're married? I said, surprised. He seemed like the lone wolf type. Yeah, high school sweetheart. 2 kids, boy and girl. She's tiny compared to me. Always jokes I'm her personal bodyguard. He grinned. You got family? Yep. Husband and 2 rugrats. Nurse life keeps me busy. I glanced at Jake, who was finally relaxing, plugging in the PC in his trunk to test it quick. Mike nodded. Tough job. My sister's a nurse too. Respect. We talked shop for a bit. Family stuff. The craziness of online selling. Turned out Mike was a total teddy bear. Volunteered at his kid's school. Loved fishing on weekends. People see the size and assume I'm mean, he admitted. But hey, keeps the creeps away. Jake wandered over, PC humming in his car. It works great, man. Thanks. And, sorry again for, Mike clapped him on the back lightly. All good, kid. Drive safe. We said our goodbyes, and as Jake and I drove home in convoy, he spilled more. Sis, when he said I got your brother on Skype, what did you think? I glanced in the rear view. Honestly, I was ready to kill him. Thought he kidnapped you, or worse. He laughed, tension gone. Me too, in my head. But he's cool. Back home, kids in bed, I poured another wine and texted hubby the story. Jake set up his new rig that night, texting me pics. It was a steal. Ran like a dream. This story has been inspired from a real-life incident shared by one of our subscribers. This is what they said. My 18-year-old brother found a $1,000 PC on Craigslist for $600. I couldn't go, but the seller showed me everything on Skype. It looked legit, so I told him to go for it. That night, I get a message. I've got your brother. Cue instant panic. Until the next line. He saw me in the Walmart lot and fainted. He's in my SUV. Safe. I drove over. The seller was a 7-foot jacked giant. My brother? curled up in the back seat, terrified. Turns out the guy was super nice. My brother just, short-circuited.
I was lying in bed, exhausted from a long shift at the coffee shop in downtown Seattle, where I'd been pulling doubles to pay off my student loans. The whispers started faint, like wind rustling through leaves, but they grew clearer. Come to the water. I sat up, my heart pounding, scanning my dark apartment. Nothing. No one. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe the breakup with Mark was messing with my head more than I thought. But that night, I woke up on the bathroom floor, the tub overflowing, water soaking through my nightgown. My feet were pruned, like I'd been standing in it for hours. What the hell? I muttered to myself, shutting off the faucet with shaking hands. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, my brown eyes wide and scared. At 28, I felt like I was losing it. Sleepwalking? I'd never done that before. The next morning, I called my best friend Emily. We'd been roommates in college, thick as thieves through all the drama. Jess, that's creepy as f***, she said over the phone, her voice laced with concern. You need to see someone, like a doctor or something. I know, Em, but what if it's just, I don't know, anxiety? Work's been brutal. No excuses. Promise me you'll go? I promised, and I did. Dr. Harlan was a middle-aged guy with a beard that screamed, "Trust me, I'm wise," in a stuffy office overlooking Puget Sound. I spilled everything, the whispers, the sleepwalking, how I'd waken up with wet feet and a pounding headache. Sounds like parasomnia, possibly linked with repressed trauma, he said, scribbling notes. We'll start with cognitive behavioral therapy and maybe some meds to help you sleep deeper. Repressed trauma? Like what? I asked, fidgeting with my necklace, a silver locket from my mom. He leaned back. Could be anything. Childhood stuff, relationships. We'll dig in. Sessions dragged on for weeks. I talked to my parents' divorce when I was 12, how Dad left for some woman in California, leaving Mom to raise me and my sister in a crappy suburb outside Tacoma. Or maybe the pressure of being the responsible one in college, always holding down jobs when my friends partied. But the whispers didn't stop. They'd come at night, pulling me towards the water. Once to the kitchen sink, another time to the shower. I installed locks on the bathroom door, but I'd find them unlocked in the morning. One session I broke down. It's getting worse, Doc. Last night I dreamt I was drowning, and a voice said, "You owe me." What does that even mean? Dr. Harlan nodded sympathetically. Guilt manifests in strange ways, Jessica. Let's explore your past relationships more. But nothing clicked. Emily dragged me out for drinks to de-stress, as she put it. You're looking rough, girl, she said, sliding me a margarita. Tell me what's really going on. I sighed, stirring the salt rim. It's like something's calling me, Em, pulling me to water. And sleepwalking, I'm scared I might hurt myself. She grabbed my hand. Remember in college when we had that phase with the Ouija boards? Maybe it's some ghost shit, she laughed, but her eyes were serious. Don't joke. This feels real. That night, I went to bed early, popped an Ambien Dr. Harlan prescribed, and blacked out. When I came to, cold water lapped at my waist. I was standing in a lake, Lake Washington, I had realized later. Moonlight glinting off the dark surface, frogs croaking, and the air smelled like algae and mud. My pajamas clung to me, and my feet sank into the silt. Oh God, I whispered, panic surging. How did I get here? My apartment was miles away. I waited out, shivering, legs numb. No phone, no keys. I flagged down a car on the road, a middle-aged couple who looked at me like I was a junkie. Please, I need help, I begged. I don't know how I got here. The woman wrapped me in a blanket from their trunk. Honey, are you okay? Should we call the police? No, just take me home, please. They did, eyeing me warily. Back in the apartment, I collapsed on the couch sobbing. The whispers echoed in my head. Come to the water. What the was happening to me? The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, mocking my exhaustion. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I called in sick to work and drove back to the lake, heart racing. The spot where I'd woken up was quiet. I walked to the shore, searching for something, anything. That's when I saw it. An old, boarded-up building, half hidden by overgrown weeds. The lakeside grill. The faded sign read, memories flooded back. College junior year at UW. Me and our crew, Sarah, who was always the wild one, had met a guy at a frat party. We were broke, drunk on cheap beer, and decided to hit this little restaurant on the lake for a little late-night bite. Burgers, fries, and milkshakes. But when the bill came, Sarah whispered, "Let's dash. Who's with me?" I hesitated. "Guys, that's shitty. The owner's right there." "Come on, Jess," Emily giggled. "Live a little. It's just once." The owner was an older man, maybe in his 50s, with a limping, kind smile. He chatted with us about the Huskies game, but peer pressure won. We bolted, laughing like idiots, piling into Sarah's car. He chased us. I saw him in the rear view yelling, "Hey, stop!" running towards the lake path, trying to cut us off. And then, a splash. We didn't stop. We didn't look back. The next day was on the campus paper. Local resident owner drowns in Lake Washington after apparent fall. Heart attack, they said. But we knew. We never talked about it. Swore each other to silence. Sarah moved to New York after graduation, and Emily got married, and I buried it deep. Standing there now, staring at the abandoned grill, guilt crashed over me like a wave. And the whispers, they were his, urging me to the water where he died. I sank to my knees in the dirt. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the empty air. "I'm so sorry." I called Emily, and we need to talk about that night, the restaurant. Silence on the line. Then, "Jess, what? Why bring that up now?" "Because it's haunting me. Literally, I think. I think his ghost or something is making me go to the lake. You're scaring me. That was ages ago." She hung up, but I couldn't let it go. The next day, I drove to the police station in Bellevue, and the desk sergeant, a burly guy with a mustache, looked up from his paperwork. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I took a deep breath. I need to report a crime from years ago. A dine and dash that led to a death. He raised an eyebrow. "All right, let's get a statement." I sat in a cold interrogation room, spilling it all. The laughter, the chase, the splash we ignored. Tears streamed down my face. We didn't mean for him to die as we ran, but now it feels like he's calling me back. The detective, a woman named Ramirez, listened patiently. Statute of limitations on theft is up, but if it's connected to manslaughter, we'll look into it. You did the right thing coming forward. Did I? It feels too late. She touched my arm. Guilt eats you alive, honey, but better late than never. They questioned Emily and tracked down Sarah, who broke down over the phone from her Brooklyn apartment. The police reopened the case as an accident, but with our confessions, it brought closure to the owner's family. His daughter, now in her 40s, reached out. We met at a coffee shop. Ironic, I know. "You don't know how much this means to me," she said, eyes misty. "Dad's death always felt unfinished. Knowing what happened, it helps. I'm so sorry. We were stupid college kids," I said. She nodded. Forgiveness isn't easy, but holding on hurts more.
I remember that summer like it was yesterday. The kind of heat that lingers even after the sun dips behind the Rockies, making everything feel sticky and alive. My roommate had hooked me up with this gig delivering pizzas for a dive called Tony's Pie Shack on the south side of town. The place was a total shithole. Grease-slicked floors that hadn't seen a mop since the 90s, roaches skittering across the counters like they owned the joint, and an oven that belched smoke every time we fired it up. But the tips? They were killer. On a good night, I'd pull in $80 in cash easy, enough to make me overlook the sketchy vibes and the fact that I was out there alone until 2 a.m. cruising the dark streets. I wasn't some naive kid. I'd grown up in a rough neighborhood in Denver where you learned quick to trust your gut. But paranoia? Yeah, that was my middle name. I'd binge on true crime podcasts on my drives, the ones about women who vanished on routine errands. So my rule was simple. Drop the pie, grab the tip, ghost. No chit-chat, no stepping foot inside unless absolutely necessary. And if I did, the door stayed cracked open, my keys in hand like a makeshift weapon. It was my second weekend on the job, and I'd already dodged a few weirdos, the drunk frat boys who leered a little too long, the lady who answered in nothing but a towel and invited me to join the party. But nothing prepared me for that night. Clock was ticking toward midnight, and dispatch radioed my last run, a large pepperoni with extra cheese to a split-level ranch on the east side, one of those quiet suburbs where the houses all look the same under sodium streetlights. The air was balmy, maybe 70 degrees, with crickets chirping like a bad horror movie soundtrack. I pulled up, grabbed the insulated bag, and hopped out. House looked normal enough. Faded blue siding, a rusty swing set in the yard, porch light buzzing with moths. I knocked, shifting my weight from foot to foot. The door creaked open, and there he was, this massive guy, easily in his 50s, with a beer gut hanging over his sweatpants like a deflated balloon. Gray stubble, bloodshot eyes, and a grin that didn't reach them. "Hey there, pizza girl," he drawled, his voice thick like he'd been hitting the bottle. "Well, come on in, don't just stand there." My stomach twisted. Vibes were off from the jump. Something about the way he eyed me, like I was the main course. "Nah, I'm good," I said, holding out the box. "That'll be $18.50. Cash or card?" He chuckled, a wet, rattling sound.
Come on, it's freezing out here. Don't want to let all the cold air in."
Freezing? It was frickin' summer. Shorts and tank top weather. Sweat beaded on my forehead. But he stepped back, gesturing inside. And, stupid me, I hesitated. My mind raced. What if he complains to the shop? What if I lose the tip? I was new, broke, and, yeah, a little scared of rocking the boat. So I took one step in, just over the threshold, door still ajar behind me.
No, all the way in,"
he insisted, his tone sharpening.
"It's cold out, sweetheart. Close the door."
Heart pounding, I froze. Every instinct screamed run, but panic glued my feet. I muttered, "Oh, okay, fine," and stepped fully inside. He swung the door shut with a click that echoed like a jail cell locking. The screen door latch too. Trapped. I gripped the pizza box like a shield, scanning the room. Holy shit, the living room was a nightmare. Stuffed clowns everywhere. Not cute kid stuff, but hundreds of them. Clowns with glassy eyes piled on the couches, spilling off tables. It smelled musty, like mothballs and old sweat. My skin crawled.
"Pizza's here, honey."
The guy bellowed toward the kitchen. I heard shuffling, and his wife appeared. A woman in a faded housecoat, hair in rollers, face pinched like she'd sucked a lemon. She was holding something in her hands, outstretched like an offering. As she got closer, I saw it. A slice of banana bread, steam rising off of it, fresh baked. But why? They just ordered pizza.
"Here, eat this,"
she said, thrusting it at me.
"Banana bread. And don't worry, it's not poisonous."
But the actual My mouth went dry. No thanks, I stammered. I'm on a diet. Can't eat sweets right now. She stared, unblinking, arms still extended.
Eat it. It's good. Not poisonous, I promise.
I'm really okay, I said, firmer, backing toward the door. But the husband blocked my path subtly, rummaging in a drawer. Her face twisted.
Why won't you eat it? I made it special. Eat the damn bread.
She raised her voice, stepping closer, crumbs flaking onto the carpet. Panic surged. Lady, I said no. I gotta get back to work. I shoved the pizza box at the guy. Just take it. $18.50. He grabbed it, setting it on a table buried under some plush toys.
Hold up. Let me get your tip. Gotta find some change.
Forget it, I snapped. I don't need it, really.
Nah. You deserve it. Pretty thing like you.
He started digging through the couch cushions, tossing bears aside. Quarters clinked, but he kept searching, slow as molasses. Minutes dragged. 2, 3, 5. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably the shop checking in. Were they stalling? For what? To call someone? To... worse? True crime scenarios flashed. Funny food. Basement dungeons. Headlines about missing girls. Why is it taking so long? I demanded, voice shaking. Just give me whatever and let me go.
Almost got it,
he muttered, flipping a pillow. The wife hovered in the kitchen doorway, watching me like prey.
You sure you don't want that bread? It's homemade.
Damn, no! I exploded, done playing nice. Move! I'm leaving! He straightened, holding out a handful of quarters, maybe $2.
There you go. Drive safe.
I snatched them, yanked the door open, and bolted to my car. Tires squealed as I peeled out, heart slamming against my ribs. Back at the shop, I burst in, breathless. Dude, you won't believe this creepy-ass delivery. This weird old guy lured me inside. His wife tried forcing me to eat some not poisonous banana bread. House full of stuffed animals, like a hoarder cult. I thought they were going to kidnap me or something. My supervisor, this chain-smoking asshole named Rick, barely looked up from his clipboard.
Yeah? Sounds like the Millers. Weirdos, but harmless. Here's your next run. Double cheese to the apartments on Cascade.
Harmless? Are you kidding? I could have been murdered. He shrugged.
Tips pay the bills. Get going or clock out.
I slammed the door on my way out, but I finished the shift. Bills don't pay themselves. I'd driven out to this remote valley in the Pacific Northwest, craving some alone time after a brutal breakup. No cell service, no distractions, just me, my truck, and the wilderness. I'm a 25-year-old graphic designer from Seattle, the kind of woman who's always been independent, but yeah, solo camping as a female can make you hyper-aware of every rustle in the bushes. I'd hiked longer than planned that day, pushing myself on a trail that wound through dense pines and along a rushing river. As dusk fell, I ran into this local guy, mid-30s, friendly smile, wearing worn hiking boots. "Hey, you look like you're about to get caught in the dark," he said, eyeing my backpack. "Yeah, I lost track of time," I admitted, laughing it off. "Any spots nearby to camp?" He nodded. "There's a hidden one just off the road by the river, camouflaged from the highway, perfect for privacy." He sketched a quick map on a scrap of paper from his pocket. "Stay safe out there." "Thanks, man, appreciate it." I shook his hand and headed off, feeling that little buzz of adventure. The spot was gold, tucked behind a thicket of ferns, with the river murmuring like white noise. It was already pitch black by the time I got there, so instead of pitching my tent, I opted for laziness. I climbed into the back of my truck under the topper, surrounded by my gear. Cooler, sleeping bag, a stash of IPAs. I built a roaring fire, cracked a beer, and blasted my friend Dakota's comedy podcast on my portable speaker. She was riffing on bad dates and empowered single life, stuff that had me cackling out loud. "Girl, if he can't handle your sass, he's not worth the ass." Dakota's voice boomed, and I toasted the flames with my can.
I was loud, visible, flames flickering high. Part of me knew it wasn't the smartest, but hell, I felt invincible that night. Sleep came easy, lulled by the river and the beer buzz. Morning hit with crisp air and birdsong. I stirred around 7 a.m., hopped out, and started another fire. Cracked another beer. Why not? It was vacation. I was frying eggs and bacon on my camp stove when I sensed it. Movement at the edge of the clearing. There he was. A man, shuffling closer but never meeting my eyes. He looked rough, like he'd been out here for months. Long, ratty beard tangled with twigs, clothes layered in filth, and goddamn at least 10 plastic grocery bags tied all over him, rustling like some messed up wind chime. My stomach twisted. "Morning! Beautiful day, huh?" I called out, trying to sound casual. Nothing. No nod, no grunt. He just paced the perimeter, eyes darting at my gear, my truck, everything but me. "You hungry? I've got some extra breakfast here. Eggs? Bacon?" I offered, forcing a smile. Still nothing. He muttered something under his breath, too low to catch, then turned his back, wandering like he owned the place. "Want a beer? It's early, but what the hell?" I tried again, grabbing one from the cooler. He froze, back still to me. That's when the creep factor hit full throttle. Was he watching me last night? Had he been lurking while I laughed at podcasts and drank by the fire? I glanced at my bear spray and buck knife tucked right by the stove. "Listen, dude," I said louder, "you're either going to acknowledge me or get the hell out of here right now." He ignored me, shuffling closer to my truck. "Motherfucker, I said acknowledge me or leave!" I shouted, grabbing the bear mace. I took a few steps toward him, canister raised. "I'm not playing!" He sulked away then, bags crinkling as he vanished into the underbrush. No words, no fight, just gone. I didn't wait. Threw my into the truck, half-cooked breakfast, gear tumbling, and peeled out of there, heart slamming against my ribs. Drove straight to the nearest town, found a diner, and chugged coffee while replaying it all. Looking back, I thank my lazy ass for sleeping in the truck. A tent? He'd have been right on me. That nice local probably saved me by suggesting the spot, but who knows if the creepy guy had been watching from afar. I remember the day my grandparents closed on that old Victorian house in rural Ohio like it was yesterday. It was 1965, and with 8 kids under one roof, space was a premium. Grandpa, a burly factory worker with calloused hands and a no-nonsense attitude, spotted the listing in the newspaper. "Well, this place has potential," he grunted, folding the ad into his pocket. Grandma nodded, her eyes tired but hopeful. They bought it cheap. Too cheap, looking back, because the previous owners had skedaddled without much explanation. Downstairs was cozy enough, with a big kitchen where Grandma baked apple pies that smelled like heaven. But upstairs, that was a different story. The bedrooms were cramped, and Grandpa decided to renovate right away. "We need more room for you rascals," he told us grandkids one weekend when we were visiting. He grabbed his sledgehammer and went at what looked like a flimsy partition wall in the hallway. "Wait, Dad, is that safe?" my mom asked, peeking up the stairs with a frown. She was in her 20s then, still living at home, helping with the younger siblings. Grandpa laughed it off. "Ha ha! It's just drywall. Watch this." One swing and the wall crumbled. Dust billowed out like smoke from a fire. Behind it wasn't insulation or studs. It was a hidden alcove, stuffed with women's clothes. Dresses from the 40s, maybe earlier. Silk stockings tangled up. A pair of heels kicked off haphazardly. It looked like whoever owned them had dashed out in a panic, leaving everything behind. "What the hell?" Grandpa muttered, stepping back. The family crowded around. My uncles joked about it. "Maybe she ran off with the milkman." But Mom shivered. "This feels wrong. like we're intruding on something private. They cleared it out anyway. Grandpa turned the space into an extra closet, and life moved on. But that's when the weirdness started. Mom got the room at the end of the hall. She'd tell me stories over coffee years later, her voice dropping low like she was sharing a secret. I'd be sitting there reading, and suddenly I'd hear this circling sound, like nails scraping wallpaper, tearing it slow and deliberate. Around and around the walls it went. Did you ever check? I'd ask, wide-eyed. She'd nod. Of course. I'd jump up, run my hands over the plaster. Nothing. No marks, no holes. But it happened night after night. I started sleeping with the light on. When Mom finally moved out in '72 to marry Dad, Aunt Linda took over the room. She was the wild one, with her bell-bottoms and Janis Joplin records. But even she couldn't shake it. One morning I woke up gasping, she confessed to me at a family reunion, wine glass in hand. That picture of the beach I hung up, it was lying right on my chest, like someone placed it there while I slept, frame and all. I screamed bloody murder. Was it the wind? A draft? I pressed, though I knew better. Aunt Linda shook her head, her eyes distant. No windows open. Door locked. Happened 3 times before I switched rooms. I told your grandma, but she just said, "Houses settle, honey. Don't let your imagination run wild." My cousins had their tales, too. The twins, Sarah and Emily, shared a room across the hall. "We'd hear footsteps at 2 a.m., Sarah whispered to me once during a sleepover when we were teens. Thump, thump up the stairs. They'd stop right outside our door. We'd huddle under the covers, hearts pounding. And then? Emily chimed in, her voice trembling even years later. Nothing. No one there when we peeked. But the air, it got so cold, like winter in July. I never liked going upstairs. Even as a kid, I'd make excuses. I forgot something downstairs, to avoid it. The chill hit you halfway up, seeping into your bones. Weird vibes, like eyes watching from the shadows. As an adult, it got worse. I'd visit for holidays, force myself up to grab a blanket or use the bathroom, and feel this pressure, like the house was breathing down my neck. The dreams started in my 30s. Vivid, terrifying ones where I'd be trapped upstairs, doors slamming shut, that scraping sound echoing. In one, I saw her, a woman in those old dresses, face pale and furious, whispering, "Get out!" I'd wake up sweating, heart racing. "Babe, it's just stress," my husband would say, pulling me close. But I knew it wasn't. Last year, after Grandpa passed, we cleared the house to sell. In the attic, buried under boxes, we found a newspaper clipping from 1943. "Local woman vanishes amid scandal," it read. Her husband, a jealous type, accused her of cheating. Neighbors heard screams, but no body was found. The article mentioned a hidden room where she supposedly stashed her things. "Mom, do you think..." I asked, showing her the yellowed paper. She sighed, tears welling. "Maybe she never left. Maybe she's been trying to tell us all along." We held a little ceremony, sage burning, prayers from a local medium. "If you're here, we're sorry," Aunt Linda said aloud, voice steady. "Rest now." The house sold quick after that. No more dreams for me.
I lived a blessed life. My father gave me everything I ever wanted, including a beautiful seaside villa. I lived in total luxury, working from home for my father's company and enjoying the beauty around me. The only problem was that I didn't have anyone to share it with. The villa was quite isolated, connected to the nearest town by a single winding road along the coast. No one ever passed by, and my childhood friends seldom bothered to make the long trip to see me. It was hard to live in paradise and still feel so alone. So when my father told me that David was going to stay with me for a few weeks in the fall, I was beyond happy. David was the son of my father's best friend. The last time I saw him, we were both 8. I had the biggest crush on him back then, and I wondered what he was like as an adult. Dad told me over the phone that David would arrive by a rental car on November 23rd. He was helping Dad with his finances, and since most of his records were stored at the villa, it was easier for David to do everything here. I anxiously awaited his arrival. He was supposed to reach the villa by the evening, but he didn't come. I knew he wasn't lost, because there's only one road to my property. I didn't have David's number, so I couldn't call him, and I didn't want to bother Dad when it was already getting late. So I went to bed and hoped that I'd see David in the morning. Just past midnight, I awoke to the sound of a car parking outside. I was instantly wide awake. I rushed to the door and saw David get out of his car. He was so handsome. I recognized his dark eyes and curly hair, but I was surprised by just how dashing he'd become since childhood. He was tall and quite muscular. He moved with confidence. I ran downstairs and let him in. The staff that kept my villa running went home in the night, so I was the only one to greet him. "Sarah, you're just as beautiful as I remember." My heart melted. He apologized for being so late. He said there was trouble on the road, but he wouldn't let anything stop him from coming here. We didn't sleep that night. We spent hours talking about our lives, about the shared memories of our past, and how great it was to see each other. I know it sounds fast, but I was falling in love with him. The next morning, David convinced me to let the servants take a week off. He said it would be better if we had the privacy to reconnect, and he was right. For the next 3 days, I spent every moment with David. I showed him every inch of the villa, and through his eyes, he made me appreciate what a wonderful place it was. We swam in the ocean, we cooked meals together, we shared hidden desires. The nights were so passionate, we hardly slept. I stopped contacting other people and took a break from my job. I even ignored Dad's multiple text messages, probably wanting to check up on how David was doing with his work. My life revolved around David, and because he was still planning to leave after a few weeks, I wanted to have him all to myself, no distractions. A week later, David told me it was time for him to go. It was so abrupt. I expected him to stay at least another week, but he was insistent. I'd stay forever if I could, but I'll be back, I promise you. I wished he could be more specific. I didn't want to wait around forever, and I couldn't imagine how lonely the villa would feel once he left. He gave me one final kiss and then he was gone. I sat on the porch for the longest time, fighting back tears. Eventually, I faced the inevitable and went back inside. I called the servants first, telling them to come back in the morning. Their reactions were a little strange, each one apologizing and asking if I was okay. Then I opened my chat and finally read through my father's messages. None of them made any sense. Something about an accident. Plus, he tried to call me over a dozen times. When I called him back, he sounded broken. His voice was barely a whisper. "The services were nice. I understand why you didn't come. You barely knew him. But still, I wished you were there." Services? I had no idea what he was talking about. "Dad, what happened?" "David's funeral, sweetie. God, he was so young." Dad slowly explained that David had crashed his car on the winding road outside the villa. He skidded off the road and slammed into the ocean. He was dead. I wanted to scream at him. This didn't make any sense. David had left less than an hour ago. If he crashed, then how could they have the time to find the wreckage, ship his body back home, and plan a funeral? "Dad, when was David's crash?" "November 23rd. He was on his way to see you. I'm so sorry, sweetie. I thought you knew." I was speechless. And then Dad said something that I'll always remember, word for word. "When you were kids, his father and I always joked that you two were soulmates. One of the reasons I arranged for his visit was because deep down, I knew if you saw him again, you'd fall in love. But I guess that'll never happen." The phone slipped from my hand, my heart pounding. David had been dead since November 23rd, yet I'd spent a week with him, laughing, loving, living. I stumbled to the porch, staring at the ocean where he'd crashed. A faint scent of his cologne lingered, impossible yet real. Trembling, I whispered his name. The wind carried a soft reply, "I'll be back." Tears fell as I realized our love had defied death itself. Soulmates, Dad had said. I smiled through the pain, knowing David's promise wasn't empty. He'll be back and in this villa. He'd always be with me. In Monticello, Arkansas, the Allen House earned its reputation as one of America's most haunted homes after the tragic death of Liddell Allen in 1948. On Christmas night, she consumed cyanide in her bedroom, later sealed off for nearly 4 decades. When the room was reopened, investigators found the cyanide bottle and nearly 90 letters hinting at a forbidden romance and heartbreak. After the home was converted into apartments, tenants reported eerie encounters, most notably, the apparition of a woman staring from Liddell's window. The current owners have since uncovered further evidence, deepening the mystery behind Liddell's sorrowful end and the lingering presence within. I'd been hauling freight across the Midwest for 10 years, mostly night shifts because the pay was better and the roads were emptier. You see all kinds of weird when you're out there in the dark. Deer frozen in headlights, drifters thumbing rides, even the occasional UFO sightings if you believe the guys at truck stops. But nothing prepared me for that night in rural Ohio, back in the summer of 2022. I was delivering a load of coffee beans and pastries to a Dunkin' Donuts off some forgotten highway exit. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I swung my rig around the back of the building to park. The lot was empty except for the faint glow from the drive-thru window where some poor kid was probably brewing the first pot of the day. As my headlights swept the front curb, I spotted her. A woman sitting there, knees pulled up to her chest, rocking slightly. Shorts and a tank top, nothing warm for the chill that creeps in after midnight. I've seen my share of folks down on their luck. Homeless, high, or just heartbroken. But something about her set my nerves on edge. Truckers learn quick. Middle of nowhere at night. Lone woman, could be trouble. I killed the engine and pocketed my stun gun. It's just a cheap thing I bought online after a close call in Indiana. Then I hopped down from the cab. She didn't look up until I was about 10 feet away, my boots crunching on the gravel. That's when I saw it, dark stains on her shorts. Before I could say a word, she jumped up, eyes wild like a cornered animal.
My boyfriend stabbed me in my butt!
She screamed, her voice cracking the silence like a gunshot. She paced back and forth, hands flapping at her sides.
He f***ing stabbed me right in the ass! Can you believe that shit? My own boyfriend!
I froze, heart pounding. Whoa, lady. Easy now, I said, holding my hands up like I was calming a spooked horse. You okay? That doesn't look good. Here, let me help you. She kept pacing, muttering under her breath, then louder.
Stabbed me in the butt. Yeah, that's what he did. Right there.
She twisted around, pointing at her backside. Her eyes darted everywhere, pupils huge.
He's crazy, you know. I only cheated once a week. Jealous asshole. He stabbed me.
I pulled out my phone, dialing 911 before she could say another word. The dispatcher picked up quick. Small mercy in the boonies. 911. What's your emergency? Yeah, hi. I'm at the Dunkin' Donuts off Route 42 near Millersburg. There's a woman here. Says her boyfriend stabbed her. She needs medical help right away. The woman stopped pacing when she heard me. She stared, head tilted like a dog hearing a whistle. You're calling the cops? She asked, voice dropping low. EMTs mostly, I told her, covering the phone for a sec. Sit down, okay? You're hurt. Help's coming. The dispatcher was firing questions. Is she conscious? Breathing normally? Any weapons visible? She's up and talking. Pacing a lot and seems agitated, but no weapons I can see.
Stabbed in the butt! My boyfriend did it! He's out there somewhere!
Ma'am, units are en route. Stay on the line. Try to keep her calm. Hey, what's your name? I'm Tom. I'm just a trucker making a drop. What happened exactly?
Name's Emily. Or whatever. Boyfriend's a prick. We were fighting in the car and he pulled over at the gas station. Then he grabbed a knife from the glove box and bam, right in the cheek. Hurt like hell.
Jesus, did he take off? Where is he now? She shrugged, still pacing.
Don't know. Ran into the woods maybe. Or back home. Who cares? It hurts.
Sit down, Emily, I urged. You're losing blood. Let me get a towel or something from the truck. But she wouldn't sit. She just kept repeating.
Stabbed in the butt. Cheated only once a week. My own boyfriend did this to me.
The dispatcher chimed in. Sir, ask if she's on anything. It'll help the EMTs. I hesitated. Then, Emily, did you take anything tonight? Pills? Anything? Her eyes narrowed, and something shifted. The pacing stopped dead. She locked eyes with me, cold as ice. It ain't my blood, and it could be yours, too. What? You heard me. Called the cops on me? Big mistake, trucker boy. I'll stab you in the butt. Or worse. I didn't wait. I backed up fast, yanked open the cab door, and jumped in, slamming it shut. I locked it just as she banged on the window.
Open up! You think you're safe in there?
Dispatcher, she's threatening me now. I said into the phone, voice shaking. She says the blood's not hers. I'm in my truck. Stay put, sir. Officers are 5 minutes out. She pounded once more, then turned and bolted across the lot, straight into the adjacent field. Tall grass swallowed her legs as she ran, zigzagging like she knew the terrain. I fired up the engine, swung the headlights to track her. She glanced back once, face twisted in rage. Then she vanished into the woodline a couple 100 yards out. Darkness ate her up. I sat there, sweating, stun gun in hand, until blue lights flashed in my mirrors. 2 cop cars pulled in, sirens off. A burly officer approached, hand on his holster. You're the one who called? Yeah, I said, rolling down the window. She took off that way. Into the woods. He nodded, radioing it in. His partner, a younger guy, shone a flashlight on the curb. Blood smears, fresh and sticky. Looks real enough, he muttered. They made me wait in the truck while they searched. Flashlights bobbed in the field, dogs barking from one of the cruisers. EMTs showed up eventually, but with no one to treat. They just milled around. Dawn was breaking when the lead cop came back, face grim. No sign of her. Woods are thick back there. Could be miles before she hits a road. You believe me, right? I asked. The blood's right there. He sighed. Yeah, we see it. Collected samples. I need to give a statement. I spent the next hour recounting everything. Her words, the threat, the run. Think she killed someone? I finally asked. The cop shrugged. It's possible. We'll check missing persons, domestic calls. Blood will tell us more. They let me go around 6 a.m., sun peeking over the trees. I delivered my load to a wide-eyed manager who'd heard the commotion, then hit the road, caffeine buzzing in my veins. But I couldn't shake it. Emily, or whatever her name was, haunted me. Was she a victim, high and scared? Or a killer, blood on her hands from some poor guy back at the gas station?
I was 19, stumbling through my first semester at a community college in the sleepy suburb outside Chicago. Mom and I lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment that always smelled like her cheap lavender candles, the kind that she bought in bulk from Walmart to cover up the stale air. She was a single mom, working double shifts at the diner downtown, always coming home with grease stains on her uniform and that exhausted smile that she plastered on for me. Dad had split when I was 5, and she'd raised me alone ever since, dating a string of losers who never stuck around. I guess that's why I turned out the way I did. Nerdy, awkward, the kind of guy who buried himself in sci-fi books and old video games instead of parties or girls. College was supposed to be a fresh start, but it felt like high school all over again. I'd shuffle into the building every morning, my baggy hand-me-down jeans sagging, my faded hoodie hiding the fact that I hadn't bothered with a haircut in months. Head down, I'd pass groups of guys laughing and shoving each other, their snickers following me like shadows. "Look at that freak," one would mutter, just loud enough for me to hear. I'd pretend not to notice, eyes glued to the cracked linoleum floor. In lectures, I'd sit in the back, scribbling notes on quantum physics or whatever, but mostly doodling aliens in the margins. Lunch was me alone in the corner of the cafeteria, picking at a soggy sandwich, whispering to myself about plot holes in Star Wars. No one talked to me. Why would they? I didn't make eye contact, didn't join clubs. I was invisible, a ghost haunting the halls. After classes, I'd head straight home, lock myself in my room, and stare out the window at the gray Illinois sky. God, I wish I had a friend. I'd mumble to the empty air, my voice cracking a little. Mom would knock sometimes, her voice tired through the door. "Honey, dinner's ready. You okay in there?" I'd yell back that I was fine, but she knew I wasn't. Her face always looked so worried, lines etched deeper from years of scraping by. One afternoon, everything changed. It was a Thursday, I think, overcast, the kind of day where the wind bites through your clothes. I left campus early, cutting through the path that skirted the wooded area behind the old mill. The trees loomed like silent giants, their leaves crunching under my sneakers. And that's when I saw him. A scruffy mutt bounding out of the underbrush, tongue lolling, tail whipping like a helicopter. He dropped a bone at my feet. Big, knobby, like from a deer or something, and he shook off the dirt, spraying me with mud. "Hey, boy," I said, kneeling down, my heart pounding with this weird excitement. No one ever approached me like that. I reached out, and he let me pet his wiry fur, leaning into my hand. For a second, I felt happy, normal. Then he barked sharp, grabbed my pant leg in his teeth, and tugged hard before darting back into the woods, bone clamped in his jaws. "Wait, come back!" I shouted, scrambling after him without thinking. The sky darkened as I plunged deeper, branches snagging my clothes. The dog vanished, and suddenly I was lost, heart racing, the air thick with the smell of damp earth. I tripped over a root, or what I thought was a root, and face planted into leaves. Groaning, I pushed up and saw it. Pile of bones scattered haphazardly, white and weathered. And, sticking out of the dirt, the top of a skull, small and round, like it belonged to someone my age. Curiosity hit me like a wave. I dug with my hands, dirt caking under my nails until I pulled out the skull. It stared back with empty sockets, but it didn't scare me. It felt familiar. A little ways off, under a mound of leaves, I spotted a faded backpack, half buried. Glancing between the bones and the bag, a smile crept onto my face. This was meant for me. I unzipped the backpack. Inside, some moldy clothes, a water bottle, and a notebook with Austin scrawled on the cover in Sharpie. "Austin," I whispered, like saying it made him real. I gathered the bones, ribs, femurs, whatever I could find, stuffing most into the backpack, the rest into mine. They clattered softly as I shouldered both bags and retraced my steps. Somehow, the woods spit me back out onto the path in minutes, like they had been waiting to release me. Mom was pacing when I got home, her apron still on from work. "Where the hell have you been? It's almost dark! I was about to call the cops!" I just grinned, this goofy smile that I couldn't wipe off. I was with my friend, Austin. Her eyes widened, confusion mixing with relief. "A friend? Really? Oh, honey, that's great!" She hugged me quick, smelling like fryer oil, before I bolted upstairs. In the room, door locked, I pulled out the bones. Using wire from my desk drawer and a hanger from the closet, I assembled him like in my biology textbook. Skeleton hanging there, skull perched on top. "Hey, Austin," I said, stepping back. "Welcome home." For the next few days, life felt different. I'd wake up smiling, chat with Austin while getting ready. "College sucks, man, but at least I got you now." At the college, I still kept to myself, but I didn't feel so alone. Mom noticed, too. Over breakfast one morning, she said, "You seem happier. Tell me about this Austin kid." "He's cool," I replied, shoveling cereal. "We hang out after class. Talks a lot about adventures." She beamed. "I'm so glad, sweetie. You deserve friends." One afternoon, I came home to screams echoing from upstairs. I dropped my bag and ran up, heart in my throat. Mom was in my room, backed against the wall, pointing at the closet. "What the f*** is that? Oh my God, what have you done?" Austin hung there, wire glinting in the light. "Mom, that's Austin, my friend." She whirled on me, face pale, tears streaming. "That's a skeleton! Human bones! Where did you get this? Are you insane?" "No, he's real. I found him in the woods. He's my only friend." I was crying now, snot running, voice breaking. "Please don't take him away." "Get rid of it, now!" she shrieked, grabbing my arm. "This is sick! You're crazy! You need help!" I yanked free, rage boiling up. She wanted to take him? After everything? "You don't understand. You've got your boyfriends coming and going like I'm not even here. Jamie, that asshole from the bar? Yeah, I know about him." "Don't you dare! Get that thing out or I'm calling the police!" I stormed to my desk and yanked open my laptop. "Fine, but look at this first." I pulled up the folder, hidden deep, encrypted. Videos that I'd secretly recorded over the years. There she was with Jamie, going wild, screaming his name. Mom gasped, hand over her mouth. How did... "I've got more," I said, voice cold. "With Mike, with that guy from work last year. Whole library. I'll upload them all to Reddit. Tag your name, your work. Everyone will see what a freak you are." She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. "Please, no, I'm your mother. Why would you do this?" "Because Austin stays," I snarled. "He's all I have. You take him, I ruin you." She looked up, broken. Okay. He stays. Just delete them." "I won't. Insurance." I closed the laptop, heart pounding, but triumphant. Things settled after that. Uneasy peace. Mom avoided my room, her eyes hollow when she looked at me. But she didn't fight. A week later, we sat at dinner. Spaghetti she had made, her hands shaking as she served. Austin was there too, propped in a chair at the table, skull grinning blankly. "Pass the salt, Austin?" I said, chuckling to myself. My name is Emily, and this is how I finally broke free from the man who was sucking the life out of me. It was a Tuesday evening in early fall, the kind where the leaves were just starting to turn, but the air still hung heavy with summer's regret. David and I were sitting at our kitchen table, the one I'd bought with my bonus from the marketing firm where I worked 60-hour weeks. He had his usual mug of Earl Grey in front of him, steam curling up like the endless stream of words pouring from his mouth. "You know, Em, I was thinking about that investment opportunity I told you about last week. The guy's got this app idea. It's like Uber, but for dog walkers. Revolutionary, right? I just need a little seed money to get in on the ground floor." I nodded faintly, stirring my own tea, watching the spoon clink against the porcelain. I'd heard variations of this pitch 100 times. David hadn't held a job in years, not since his startup failed spectacularly, leaving me, with the debt. He lived off my salary, my savings, my everything. I was the one climbing the corporate ladder, dealing with asshole bosses and endless Zoom calls, while he lounged around the house, networking on his phone. Pathetic leech, that's what he was. I'd whispered it to myself in the mirror for months, feeling the resentment build like poison in my veins. That night, I'd finally had enough. I'd slipped the rat poison into his sugar bowl earlier. Just a pinch, enough to make it look like a heart attack. The doctor had warned him about his blood pressure, after all. I sipped my tea slowly, listening to him drone on about his big plans. And once it takes off, we'll be set, babe. No more of this 9-to-5 grind for you. We'll travel. Paris, Rome, you name it. Uh-huh, I murmured, my eyes fixed on the clock. He took another gulp, oblivious as always. He never noticed how quiet I'd become, how I barely looked at him anymore. Why would he? I was just the ATM in a skirt. We finished our cups at around the same time. I set mine down gently, stood up without a word. He paused mid-sentence, his eyes glazing over, drooping like he was fighting sleep. Em, you okay? His head thudded against the table, a dull sound that echoed in the empty kitchen. I waited a beat, and then I leaned over and pressed my fingers to his neck. No pulse. Nothing. Just silence. Finally. I cleared the table methodically, washed the cups, wiped down the surfaces, tucked the sugar bowl back into the cabinet. And then I grabbed the suitcase that I'd packed that morning, hidden in the hall closet. Goodbye, I said to his slumped form and walked out the door. The cool air hit my face like a baptism. I drove straight to O'Hare, caught a red-eye to New York, and never looked back. The police ruled it a natural death. High cholesterol. Stress from unemployment. They bought the story that I'd planted with his doctor visits. I sold the house remotely, transferred the money, and started over in Brooklyn. A fresh start, I told myself. At 32, I was still young enough to rebuild. I got a job at a boutique ad agency, the kind with ping-pong tables and free kombucha. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Dating was supposed to be the fun part. I'd download the apps, Bumble, Hinge, even Tinder for the thrill. I'd swipe on young, handsome guys, the ones with abs and startup jobs of their own. My first date was with Alex, a 28-year-old software engineer with dimples and a laugh that made my stomach flip. We met at a trendy bar in Williamsburg, sipping craft cocktails under string lights. So, what do you do for fun, Emily? He asked, leaning in close. I smiled, feeling the spark. Travel, yoga, the usual. But lately just exploring the city. What about you? Oh man, I love hiking upstate. We should go sometime. Get away from all this noise. It was going well. Really well. Until I glanced at his face mid-sentence. And there it was. David's features overlaying Alex's like a glitch in reality. The drooping eyes. The slack jaw from that final moment. My heart pounded, bile rising in my throat. I have to go. I stammered, grabbing my coat. Wait, what? Did I say something wrong? No, it's me. Sorry. I bolted, hailing a cab outside, tears streaming down my face. It happened again and again. With Jake, the artist from Soho. You're amazing, Emily. Tell me about your job. Poof. David's ghost. With Ryan, the finance bro. Let's grab dessert at my place. Nope. Husband's face. Trauma hitting like a truck. I'd leave them confused, mid-conversation. My phone buzzing with unanswered texts. What happened? Did I offend you? I couldn't explain it. The guilt, the memory, it haunted me. I started therapy, but even my shrink couldn't make it stop. PTSD from the loss, she said. Yeah, right. Months dragged on. I was exhausted, lonely. I threw myself into work, climbing to senior director. And then, one rainy afternoon, I ran into Harold at the corner deli in my neighborhood. He was in his late 60s, silver hair, kind eyes behind bifocals. We'd nodded at each other before. He lived a few doors down, a retired accountant or something.
Emily, right? Nasty weather out there,
he said, holding the door for me. Yeah, feels like it'll never stop. How've you been, Harold?
Oh, same old. Picking up some bagels. Care to join me for drinks sometime? No pressure, just neighborly.
I hesitated, but what the hell? He wasn't young or handsome. No risk of the ghost appearing. Sure, why not? Tomorrow at the Spaniards? We met the next day. Harold was charming in a grandfatherly way, full of stories from his youth. Over wine, he opened up.
You know, I had a good life. Traveled the world. Played golf every weekend. My wife, God rest her soul, she was the breadwinner. Corporate lawyer, always in meetings. I stayed home, managed the house. It worked for us.
I sipped my wine, intrigued. Really? Most men I know would have hated that. He chuckled.
Ha ha! No, I loved it. She slaved away, and I reaped the benefits. Lazy, maybe, but she never complained. Died too young. Heart attack at 55.
His words hit close, but no ghost, no David, just a strange sense of kinship. Sounds familiar, I muttered. Harold's words sinking into me like a stone.
She slaved away, and I reaped the benefits.
My stomach churned. This man, with his kind eyes and gentle smile, was just another David, another leech, living off a woman's hard work, proud of it even. I could barely look at him, his silver hair catching the bar's light like some halo he didn't deserve. Disgust crawled up my throat. Sounds like you had it made, I said, forcing a tight smile, my voice flat. I pushed my chair back a little, the screech of wood on tile louder than it meant to be. Harold chuckled, oblivious.
Oh, I did. Margaret was a firecracker. Always working, always moving. I just kept the home fires burning, you know?
Yeah, I know, I muttered, my fingers tightening around the glass. I couldn't do this. Not again. Not with another man who thought that a woman's sweat was his free ride. Excuse me, Harold, I need to hit the restroom.
Sure thing,
he said, waving a hand, already reaching for nachos like nothing was wrong.
I'll be here.
I grabbed my purse and headed to the back, my heels clicking on the floor, each step a countdown to getting the hell out. In the bathroom, I locked the door and leaned against the sink, staring at my reflection. My face looked tired, the lines around my eyes deeper than they should be at 32. I'd left David behind, burned my old life to the ground. But here I was, sitting across from his echo. Pathetic. I wasn't sticking around for this. I'd ghost Harold, block his number, avoid the deli for a month. Done. I splashed cold water on my face, ready to slip out the back if I had to. Then, the door creaked open. I froze. I'd locked it, hadn't I? Harold stood there.
Harold, what the...
I started, stepping back, my purse slipping to the floor. You seemed upset, he said, his voice low, almost calm. Thought we should talk. This is the woman's bathroom. Get out! But he didn't. He moved fast. Too fast for a man his age, grabbing my arm and spinning me around. My hands hit the sink, the cold porcelain biting into my palms. Harold, stop! I yelled, but his grip tightened. I froze, my breath catching, panic flooding my veins.
Shh, Emily,
he whispered.
You want this, I can tell.
I wanted to scream, to claw his eyes out, but my body betrayed me, a sick twist of heat curling low in my stomach as he moved. Tears stung my eyes, spilling down my cheeks. My reflection in the mirror a mess of fear and something else. Something I hated myself for feeling. I was trapped, caught between disgust and a twisted, unwanted thrill. And then I saw it in the mirror. Harold's face shifted. His silver hair darkened, his jaw sharpened. His eyes drooped into that familiar, lifeless gaze. David. It was David's face staring back at me, his ghost leering through Harold's body. My knees buckled. A scream lodged in my throat. The world spun, and all I could see was him, my dead husband, back to haunt me. He will never let me live.
In 2023, I won the Miss Wisconsin beauty pageant, which meant that I got to compete for the Miss Midwest crown. It was my dream come true. Sure, it wasn't quite as important as Miss America, but it came with a big cash prize and a possible job at the cosmetic company that sponsored the event. I needed the money, and I really wanted that job, so I worked tirelessly to make sure that I won the competition. All the contestants gathered at a hotel in Grand Rapids, where we got to meet each other and the judges. As soon as I walked in, my heart dropped. I recognized one of the other contestants, Rose, the woman who ruined my life. I saw her chatting and laughing with one of the judges, looking as beautiful as ever. God, I wanted to punch that smile off her face. Rose and I used to be college friends, but during one of our final exams, Rose stole my notes and brought them into the exam hall. The professor found them, and because the pages were in my handwriting, Rose blamed everything on me. I was kicked out of college, permanently branded a cheater, while Rose got away scot-free. Because of her, I didn't have a degree and couldn't find any work higher than minimum wage. And now she was here. She was my competition.
Diana, it's wonderful to see you. You look spectacular.
I was too angry to speak, so I just turned around and left. As I sulked outside the conference room, I vowed to myself that I wouldn't let Rose beat me. I'd get my revenge by winning this competition fair and square. I was more determined than ever. I practiced my dance routine over and over. I made friends with everyone I met. I forced myself to look beautiful and perfect at all times, even when people weren't watching. For the whole weekend, I was everything a beauty queen should be, while Rose acted like her typical bitchy self. She was nice to the judges, but to other contestants, she was rude and confrontational. And to the poor hotel staff, she was an absolute nightmare, demanding special attention and screaming at anyone who got in her way. Watching her freak out at the workers made me more confident than ever. There was no way she'd win this pageant. Everyone could see she didn't deserve it. We did the talent portion first. I absolutely killed it. Rose did okay with her juggling act. Next was the swimsuit portion, which went well for both of us. I had to admit, she had a killer physique. Then we had a break before the final round, the interviews. All the girls were in the dressing rooms checking their makeup and practicing their answers. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Rose get a phone call and race into the hallway. I could tell something suspicious was going on. She looked like she was up to something. I listened through the door as she talked on the phone. She sounded really flirty. I could only hear her side of the conversation, but that was enough to figure out what was going on. She was sleeping with one of the judges. Once again, she was going to win by cheating. I couldn't let that happen. I rushed over to her makeup area and pulled a pill bottle out of my purse. Ever since Rose ruined my life, I've been taking antidepressants. I'm used to them now, but when I first started, they made me sleepy and sluggish. If I slipped a couple of these pills into Rose's drink, then she'd slur her way through the interview and embarrass herself on stage. I looked around to make sure no one was watching, and I dropped 2 pills into her water bottle. When Rose came back with a big smile on her face, I wished her luck.
Thanks, babe, but I don't need luck.
She grabbed her water bottle and chugged the whole thing. I felt a little guilty, but I mostly felt proud of myself. I was finally getting back at her. After that, the contestants lined up on stage and we took turns going to the microphone to answer the judges' questions. As the other girls had their turn, I noticed Rose start to sway on her feet. She could barely keep her eyes open. When it was my turn to get interviewed, I was amazing. I had concise, intelligent answers. The judges all seemed impressed. Then I got back in line and Rose went to the microphone. They asked her about her thoughts on climate change. Rose grabbed onto the mic stand to steady herself. The pills were really affecting her.
I think it's like the climate is, we all need good weather, and if the weather isn't good, then we...
Before she could even finish, she collapsed onto the stage. Her face was swollen and she was gasping for air. A judge jumped onto the stage and screamed for someone to call a doctor. Rose was having an allergic reaction to my pills. All I could do was stand there and watch. Thankfully, there was a medical conference at our hotel, so plenty of doctors were nearby to help her. The pageant was postponed while one of the doctors treated her. He injected her with an EpiPen and she started breathing again. She still looked awful though. Pretty soon, another doctor found my antidepressants in the changing room. My heart sank and I knew I'd been caught. From the floor, Rose glared up at me.
That bitch wants me dead!
I was about to confess when all the other contestants stepped forward, saying they'd seen Rose steal my pills from my purse. A cleaning lady said the same thing. It was a lie, of course, but all these people had suffered through Rose's abuse while I'd been nice to them all. They were defending me.
Liars! All of them!
Rose had a full-on freakout, and the doctors had to restrain her before she could attack me. The judges disqualified her from the competition, and I got the crown. It was the happiest moment of my life. The story has been loosely inspired from a real-world event. In July 2025, Brandy Nicole Pond, a Utah woman, survived a rare and life-threatening skin disorder triggered by a common antibiotic. After completing a 10-day course of Bactrim for a UTI, Nicole developed Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which quickly progressed to its more severe form, toxic epidermal necrolysis. Within 72 hours, she suffered fever, rashes, and blisters, eventually requiring hospitalization, ventilation, and weeks of intensive care in a Miami hospital. Now recovering at home, Nicole is unable to work and is using her rare experience to raise awareness about rare drug reactions. It happened overnight. I went from healthy to disabled, she said.
That summer in Oregon, I was itching to escape the monotony of Pendleton, where the dry heat and endless shifts at the coffee shop had me feeling like a hamster on a wheel. I was 23, restless, and craving something real. Something to shake me out of my funk. So, when Mom, who lived clear across the state in Eugene, suggested I come spend a few weeks with her, I jumped at the chance. She was the kind of woman who could make a grocery run feel like an adventure, always chasing the next trail or sunset. "Pack light," she told me over the phone, her voice bright with that familiar spark. "We're gonna live a little." I tossed some clothes and headed west, the promise of her wild spirit pulling me like a magnet. Mom's always been the outdoorsy type, 52 and still outpacing me on hikes. Divorced from Dad for a decade, she turned her life into a love letter to nature. Yoga at dawn, trail runs, volunteering at the wildlife refuge. "Life's too short to stay cooped up, honey," she'd say, her curls bouncing as she packed her Jeep. Me, I'm more of a city girl. Or at least I'd like to think so, but her enthusiasm's infectious. Our mother-daughter trips were sacred. Bug spray, bad singing and all. That weekend, she had her heart set on the coast. "It's just an hour's drive," she said over breakfast, pouring me her killer black coffee. "There's this free campsite up in the foothills near Lincoln City. No crowds, no hassle. Just us and the ocean." "Sounds amazing," I said, munching toast. "But, is it safe? Just us two?" She laughed, waving it off. "I've camped there alone before. It's fine. We got this." Famous last words. We packed her Jeep with the tent, sleeping bags, a cooler of sandwiches and beer, and her trusty camp stove. The drive was a dream, twisting through the Siuslaw National Forest, air turning salty as we neared the Pacific. We cranked Fleetwood Mac, screaming, "Go your own way," with the windows down, hair flying. By afternoon, we reached the campsite, high on a foothill overlooking the coastal mountains. It was remote. No bathrooms, no water, just a dirt pullout with a fire ring and a killer view of the ocean. We were the only ones there. "Jackpot!" Mom whooped, stretching. "This is all ours." We set up like a well-oiled machine. I pitched the tent, she gathered firewood. The sunset was unreal. Waves crashing far below, sky blazing gold. We hiked a short trail, Mom pointing out deer tracks and lupine. "Look at these," she said, crouching. "Reminds me of you picking flowers as a kid." Until I grabbed poison ivy. I shot back, grinning. "Lesson learned." She chuckled. "Know your plants." Back at camp, we grilled hot dogs and s'mores, cracking open IPAs. "To new adventures," Mom toasted, clinking her bottle against mine. "To not getting mauled by bears," I added. The evening was perfect. Stars bright, fire crackling. We talked about my jerk ex, her latest date with a vegan guy who hated her cheese obsession. "He lectured me on cheddar," she groaned. "Cheddar!" "Men," I sighed. "Why are they always so weird?" "Not all," she said quietly. "Your dad was good." We were laughing when a truck's rumble interrupted us with 3 guys inside. They parked nearby, hopped out. Rough types, logging town vibes. The tallest one, gut straining his shirt, waved. "Hey, you ladies alone up here?" Mom stood, casual but sharp. "Just for the night. Nice spot, right?" "Yeah, we fish around here sometimes," he said, eyeing our camp. His buddies lingered, one lighting a cigarette. "Seen anyone else?" "Nope, just us," Mom said. "Why?" The smoker grinned. "Bear's been active. You got protection?" My stomach twisted, but Mom just smiled. "We're good. Bear spray and all." They talked a bit. Weather. Local beaches. I stayed by the fire, poking embers, heart racing. Something felt wrong. The way they scanned our Jeep, our stuff. Finally, the tall one nodded. "Stay safe, ladies." "You too," Mom said. They drove off, taillights fading. "What was that?" I asked. "Probably just locals," she said, but her eyes were sharp. "Don't worry." I did, though. As we zipped into the tent, the unease lingered. The night was black. No moon, just waves and owls. We whispered goodnights, and I drifted off. Around 2 a.m., I woke. Mom was sitting up, rigid. Her gasp had roused me. I'm a light sleeper, always have been. "Mom?" I started, but she clapped her hand over my mouth, eyes wide. "Shh," she whispered. Silence. Then crunch. Footsteps right by the tent, slow, circling. The zipper flap twitched, like someone was touching it. My heart stopped. Those guys? Someone else? We were miles from help. No signal. I grabbed Mom's arm, shaking. She didn't flinch. In a loud, steady voice, she shouted, "John, grab the gun!" John. Dad's name. But Dad was in Idaho, nowhere near us. It was just us, 2 women in a flimsy tent. The footsteps stopped. A shuffle, whispers, then an engine roared, tires peeling out. We sat frozen, hearts pounding. "You okay?" Mom whispered finally. "Yeah," I lied, trembling. "What the fuck?" "I don't know," she said, "but they're gone." We didn't sleep. At dawn, we packed fast. No breakfast. The drive down that hill felt like forever. "We should have had a real gun," I muttered. Mom glanced over, pale but fierce. "Next time, maybe. But we handled it."
Back in Eugene, we crashed on her couch, coffee in hand, rehashing it. "You were a badass," I told her. "That John line? Epic." She smirked. True crime binges for the win. But seriously, we gotta be careful. Too many creeps out there.
I remember that fall semester like it was yesterday. The crisp air on campus, the leaves turning orange and gold, the constant buzz of dorm life at my small liberal arts college in the Midwest. I was 18, fresh out of high school, and still figuring out who I was. It was mostly girls on my floor in my dorm, a tight-knit group of us who bonded over late-night study sessions, bad cafeteria food, and endless gossip about boys, classes, and our futures. That's where I met him. Online, of course. Back then, in the early 2000s, chat rooms and forums were our social media. There was this site for music lovers where we talk about indie bands, share playlists, and vent about life. His username was something lame like Ghostwriter24, but he was hilarious in the group chats. He'd crack jokes about everything from politics to pop culture, always with this witty edge that made me laugh out loud. He lived in North Carolina, he said, working some entry-level job, but he dreamed of being a writer. We started private messaging after a while. Nothing flirty at first, just sharing stories. He knew all my friends from the dorm, too, since we'd all joined the forum together. Looking back, the fact that he mostly chatted with us girls should have been a warning sign. But I was naive. Hell, we all were. We thought the internet was this magical place where you could make real friends without the awkwardness of real life. A couple of months in, he mentioned he was coming to our state for his cousin's wedding. "Hey, it's only a few hours drive from your campus. What if I swung by? Meet the crew in person," he typed one night. I'd never met anyone from online before, but the idea excited me. He seemed so genuine, so funny. "Oh my god, yes! You can crash at my dorm. My roommate's always at her boyfriend's place anyway," I replied. The girls were pumped too. We spent days planning. Pizza from the local joint, maybe a bonfire if the weather held, and just hanging out in the common room. "Well, is he cute?" my friend Sarah asked one afternoon, sprawled on my bed with a bag of chips. "I don't really know," I admitted, scrolling through our messages on my clunky desktop computer. "I mean, he doesn't have pics up, but who cares? He's hilarious." "Yeah, but what if he's, like, old or something?" Jess chimed in from her desk, twirling her hair. She was the cautious one in our group. "He's 24. That's not old, and he's cool. Stop being paranoid," I said defensively. The day he arrived, I was a bundle of nerves. I changed outfits 3 times, settled on jeans and a cute sweater. Nothing too try-hard. The wedding was that morning, so he showed up around lunchtime, pulling into the visitor lot. I waved from the steps, my friends flanking me like a welcoming committee. He stepped down, and my stomach dropped. He didn't look 24. Pale skin stretched tight over sharp bones, like he'd been sick for months. His hair was this stringy, greasy blonde mess, thinning on top so you could see patches of scalp. He wore baggy jeans and a faded band tee that hung off his frame. "Hey, ladies," he called. He went straight for hugs, long, lingering ones that made me stiffen. His arms were bony, and he smelled like stale cigarettes and cheap cologne. Hi, I'm Emily. This is Sarah, Jess, and Mia." He grinned, revealing yellow teeth. "Man, you're all even prettier in person. Emily, that sweater brings out your eyes." We all exchanged glances, but I forced a smile. Thanks. Come on, let's grab some food." We headed to the cafeteria first. Standard college fare, soggy fries and mystery meat. He piled his tray high, talking nonstop. "So, Emily, you still seeing that guy from your psych class? The one you said was a total douche?" I blinked, caught off guard. I'd mentioned that in a private message weeks ago. "Oh, no, that fizzled out." "Good," he said, winking. "You deserve better, someone mature." Sarah shot me a look across the table, Her eyebrows were raised. "So, what do you do exactly, Ghost Rider?" she asked, using his username like a joke. "You can call me Derek. I repair things. It's boring stuff, but hey, it pays the bills. What about you girls? Any boyfriends? Spill the tea." Mia shifted uncomfortably. "I'm single, focusing on school." "Oh, come on. A hot girl like you? Bet you've got stories. Ever hooked up with someone older? It's way better. Trust me." Derek pressed, leaning forward. The table went quiet. I felt my cheeks burn. Let's change the subject. How was the wedding?" He shrugged, launching into a story about his family. But even that felt off. He was complaining about his ex who didn't appreciate him, and how women these days were too picky. We nodded politely, but the vibe was souring fast. Back at the dorm, we crammed into the common room. Me, the girls, and a couple of guys from down the hall who'd heard about our visitor. Derek plopped down on the couch next to me. "This place is awesome. Reminds me of my college days. Partied hard back then," he said. "You went to college?" Jess asked skeptically. "Yeah, dropped out junior year. Life got in the way." "Hey, Emily, you're quiet. What's on your mind? You alright?" He turned to me. "I'm fine." I lied, forcing a laugh. But inside, I was freaking out. His questions kept coming, probing ones. "Sarah, you mentioned your parents' divorce. That must have been rough. Ever talked to a therapist about it?" Sarah's eyes widened. "How do you know about that? You posted it in the forum once. I remember everything," he said casually. Creepy. That's the only word for it. He commented on Mia's outfit. "That skirt shows off the best part about you," and asked Jess if she was still experimenting with girls, referencing some offhand jokes she made online months ago. The guys in the room started side-eyeing him, and one even whispered to me, "Hey, this dude's kinda weird. You sure about him staying?" But the guys eventually got bored and left after a while. As the evening wore on, we tried games, Uno, then Truth or Dare. Derek dared Mia to sit on his lap, just for fun. She laughed it off, but declined. Then he turned to me during Truth. "Emily, what's your wildest fantasy? Be honest." I froze. Pass," I said, my voice shaky. Don't be shy, Emily. We're all friends here." He coaxed. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing water on my face. When I came back, he was telling a story about his crazy ex who'd accused him of stalking. There were red flags everywhere. Night fell, and everyone dispersed. Derek followed me to my room, a tiny space with bunk beds and posters on the walls. "So, this is it. It's cozy. We can share the bed, right? Don't worry, I don't bite. Unless you want me to," he said, eyeing the twin bed. My skin crawled. "Actually, I hurt my back last week in yoga. Sleeping on the floor helps. You take the bed." I lied quickly. He frowned, sitting on the edge. "Come on, Emily. It's tiny, but we can cuddle. It'll be fun." "No, I'm good down here," I said firmly, grabbing a blanket and pillow. He sighed dramatically. "Fine, but if you change your mind..." I didn't. I lay there on the hard carpet, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding. He talked for what felt like hours, about his life, his dreams, how he felt a connection with me. "You're special, Emily. Not like those other girls." I pretended to fall asleep, but I barely closed my eyes all night. Every creak, every breath from above made me tense. Morning couldn't come fast enough. He left early, hugging me too tight again. "We should do this more often. Maybe you visit me next," he said. "Yeah, maybe," I mumbled, waving as he drove off. As soon as he was gone, I burst into tears in front of my friends. "That was the creepiest night of my life," I confessed. Sarah hugged me. We all felt it. Never again. I blocked him online that day. No more messages. No more forum chats. This happened 10 years ago. It had been almost a year since I'd last seen Jake. We grew up together in the sleepy suburb outside Chicago, bonding over late-night video games, cheap beer, and those endless summers where nothing mattered except dodging our parents' curfews. He was the kind of guy who could make you laugh until your sides hurt, always with that infectious grin and a story ready to top yours. But life pulled us apart when he landed a job in Denver. Something in sales, he said, with promises of big commissions and a fresh start. I was happy for him, really. We texted sporadically, shared memes, but the distance did what it does, fades things out. Then, out of the blue, he messaged me one Friday in early fall. Back in town for a week, bro. Let's grab a beer and catch up? I didn't hesitate. Hell yeah, come over tonight. I'll fire up the grill. My place was a modest 2-bedroom apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, but it had a balcony overlooking the river where we could sit and bullshit like old times. I was 25, single after a messy breakup with Julia, who left me because, as she put it, I was too comfortable with mediocrity and working a dead-end job at a logistics firm. Jake showing up felt like a lifeline to simpler days. He rolled in around 7 p.m., looking a bit rougher than I remember. His hair was longer, unkempt, and there were dark circles under his eyes, but he played it off with that same old charm. Man, look at you. Still got that baby face, he teased, pulling me into a bro hug. We cracked open a 6-pack of Miller Lite, his favorite, and settled on the couch. The conversation flowed easy at first. His new gig wasn't planning out like he'd hoped. The boss was a moron. Denver winters sucked. I told him about Julia, how she'd ghosted me after 6 months. Women, am I right? Jake chuckled, clinking his bottle against mine. They're all the same. Chase the excitement, bail when shit gets real. Yeah, but Julia, she had this way of making me feel like I was enough, you know, until she didn't. We talked about that for a while. Him sharing stories of his own flings gone wrong. How one girl in Denver had cleaned out his apartment after a bad fight. Bitches be crazy, he said, laughing it off. As the night wore on, we got buzzed, reminiscing about high school pranks, like the time we TP'd the principal's house and nearly got expelled. I excused myself to hit the bathroom, leaving him alone in the living room for maybe 5 minutes. When I came back, he was scrolling his phone, acting normal. Hey, you got any snacks? I'm starving. I rummaged in the kitchen, tossed him some chips, and we kept talking until midnight. He crashed on the couch that night, promising to head out early for some family thing. The next few weeks blurred by in routine. Work, gym, and Netflix binges to fill the void Julia left. Then the weirdness started. First, a call from my bank. Overdraft fees because my checking account was drained by a series of bad checks totaling over $2,000. What the hell? I muttered, logging in to see bounces from places I'd never been. A liquor store in the suburbs, a pawn shop, even a strip club downtown. I froze the account, thinking it was some glitch or fraud ring. But it escalated. Credit alerts pinged my phone. New cards opened in my name at Best Buy, Target, even a high-limit Visa from Chase. Charges racked up fast. Electronics, cash advances, hotel rooms. My score tanked from 750 to the low 500s overnight. Bills arrived for shit I didn't buy. A flat-screen TV, jewelry, a goddamn motorcycle lease. Panic set in. I spent hours on hold with banks, filing police reports, and explaining to skeptical customer service reps that no, I hadn't gone on a spending spree. Sir, are you sure you didn't authorize this? One asked, her voice dripping with doubt. The cops were sympathetic but blunt. Identity theft's a bitch. We'll investigate, but it could take months. Nights were sleepless, replaying every interaction, wondering who could hate me enough to do this. Work suffered. My boss pulled me aside. You okay, man? You look like shit. I confided a bit, and he nodded. My sister went through something similar after her divorce. Ruined her for years. Then the breakthrough. Surveillance footage from one of the check cashing spots showed Jake, clear as day, forging my signature. My heart dropped. The driver's license number matched what I left in my wallet that night. He'd swiped checks from my book while I was in the bathroom. They nabbed him at a motel on the outskirts, high on whatever he'd scored with my money. I got the call from the DA's office. "We've got your guy. Want to press charges?" Hell yes, but recovering was hell. I disputed everything. Hired a credit repair service that cost me $500 I didn't have. My buddy Mike loaned me cash for rent. A month later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but then picked it up eventually. "Hello? It's Jake." His voice was small. "What the f*** do you want?" I snapped, anger surging. "Look, man, I'm sorry. I was in a bad spot. I lost the job. I owed money to some bad people. I didn't mean to screw you over like that. You stole my identity, Jake. Drained my accounts. Ruined my credit. You think sorry cuts it?" He paused. Then, "Come on, man, are you insane? We're friends. Remember all the we've been through? That time in college when I bailed you out after that bar fight? Friends forgive each other, man. Be sensible. Drop the charges. I can't go to prison, man. I'll lose everything." Are you out of your mind? Friends don't steal from each other. They don't betray trust like that. You need to own this, Jake. Face what you did. That means jail time. Bro, please think about it. We go way back. Way back to when you were a decent guy, Jake. Not this. Goodbye, Jake. This story has been inspired from a real-life incident shared by one of our subscribers. This is what they said. "I hadn't seen a friend in about 2 years, so I invited him over for a beer. While I wasn't looking, he stole a few checks and my driver's license details. Weeks later, he used them to open credit accounts, write bad checks, and drain my bank account. It took nearly a year to fix, though I eventually got most of my money back. After his arrest, he even asked me to drop the charges, saying, 'Friends forgive each other.' I told him forgiveness doesn't mean escaping responsibility. He still had to face jail for what he did. He also had an existing warrant for beating up his girlfriend."
I used to work as a waiter at this old hotel up in the Scottish Highlands. The place was called the Glen Moray Inn, tucked away in a misty valley near Loch Ness. Yeah, that Loch Ness. But we didn't talk about the monster much. The locals had their own ghosts to worry about. The hotel was ancient, built back in the 1700s as a coaching inn, with creaky wooden beams and stone walls that whispered secrets if you listened close enough. It was split into 2 buildings. The restaurant, where we served up haggis and whiskey to tourists, and the main lodge with the guest rooms. All on the ground floor because, well, Scotland's weather doesn't play nice with stairs. I'd only been there a couple of months, but I'd already heard the stories. The other staff loved spinning yarns during the slow afternoons between lunch and dinner service.
"Which laddie? You didn't ken about the Grey Lady?"
Old Hamish, the bartender, would say, his eyes twinkling over his pint. Hamish was a fixture there, pushing 70, with a beard like Father Christmas gone rogue.
"She was a chambermaid back in the day. Hanged herself in the attic after her lover jilted her. Now she wanders the corridors, headless, some say, in her faded grey dress. Silent as the grave."
I laughed it off at first. I'm from Manchester. City boy through and through. Ghosts were for movies and drunk uncles at Christmas. But the place had a vibe, you know? Doors that swung shut on their own. Cold spots in the hallways. And once or twice, I'd swear I heard footsteps when I was locking up alone. The owner, Ms. McLeod, a tough old bird with a no-nonsense glare, dismissed it all.
"Superstitious bollocks. Keeps the punters coming, though."
She ran the place like a drill sergeant, but she had a soft spot for her regulars, especially these 2 elderly sisters, the Mrs. Abernathy. They were like a mother of hers from way back. Came every year for a wee holiday. That particular afternoon in July, we had just finished lunch service. Tourists scarfing down salmon and tatties, and things were quiet. I was wiping down tables when Jamie, another waiter, poked his head in from the kitchen. Jamie was a local lad, mid-20s like me, with a cheeky grin and a habit of flirting with anything in a skirt.
"Hey, mate. The Abernathy sisters just pulled up. Boss wants a bottle of claret in their room pronto. They're getting helped out the car. Old dears. You can? I'll handle the front. You nip over with the wine.
No bother, I replied, grabbing a decent bottle from the rack. A 98 Bordeaux. Nothing fancy, but it breathed nice. I uncorked it, set 2 glasses on a silver tray, and headed out the back door. The courtyard was gravelly, crunching under my shoes, and I caught a glimpse of the 2 ladies by their old Volvo. One was tall and straight-backed, chatting with Ms. McLeod, while the other, well, she was hunched over, moving slow with a walker. I didn't think much of it. Old age hits hard, right? I nodded politely as I passed, but they were busy with luggage. The main building was empty that time of day. No other guests checked in yet, and the staff were all in the restaurant. I pushed through the side door into the corridor leading to the bedrooms. It was dim in there, even in daylight. The windows were small and leaded, filtering the light like an old sepia photo. That's when the ghost stories crept back into my head. Hamish's voice echoed.
Headless laddie. Shuffle silent like.
I shook it off, tray balanced in one hand, key in the other for room 7. But as I turned the corner, my heart damn near stopped. There, at the end of the corridor, was a figure. It was facing away, shuffling slowly toward the bedrooms. No head. Seriously, no head. Just a faded gray dress, Victorian style, with a high collar and long skirts, brushing the floor without a sound. The shoulders were rounded, like it was bent from years of sorrow, and it moved with this eerie glide. No footsteps, no rustle. My mind went blank. I froze, tray trembling. Was this it? The gray lady? I'd scoffed at the tales, but there she was. Real as the sweat breaking on my forehead. My mouth went dry. I wanted to bolt, but my legs were lead. Then some survival instinct kicked in. I let out this god-awful noise, like a jet engine revving up, half scream, half gasp. The figure stopped, turned slowly, and there was a head. Sort of. It was tucked so low between her shoulders that it was almost invisible from behind. Miss Abernathy, the hunched one, peered up at me with sharp blue eyes. Her face wrinkled like fine leather, but kind. She was tiny, maybe 4 foot something standing. Her spine curved from what I later learned was severe osteoporosis. The dress wasn't Victorian, it was just an old-fashioned wool number, gray from too many washes.
Oh dear. Are you all right, young man? You look like you've seen a ghost.
I nearly dropped the tray then, glasses clinking. I tripped on the carpet. Saved it, though. This is for your room, ma'am. Claret, compliments of Mrs. McLeod. She chuckled softly, adjusting her walker.
How kind. I'm Eliza Abernathy, and that's my sister Agnes out front. We've been coming here for donkey's years. You must be the new lad. Tom, is it?
Tim Hargrove. Sorry about the noise. Clumsy feet. Eliza eyed me skeptically, but let it slide.
Well, Tim, no harm done. Though if you did see something, this place has its secrets. Agnes swears she felt a presence in the night. Cold hands on her shoulder.
I set the tray down inside, pouring a glass to let it breathe. The room was cozy. Twin beds with tartan quilts. A window overlooking the loch. Really? I said, trying to play it cool. I've heard the stories. The Grey Lady?
Oh, aye, poor soul. They say she was jilted, you know. Hanged herself for love. Women back then, not many choices. But me, I have outlived 2 husbands and a war. Osteoporosis is my ghost now. Bends you till you're half the woman you were.
She sipped the wine, sighing.
Tastes like home. Thank you, dear.
By then, Agnes bustled in. Tall and spry for her age. 80-something, I'd guess.
Eliza, what nonsense are you filling his head with? Don't mind her, Tim. She's always dramatizing. Though that grey lady, last year I walked to a shadow at the foot of the bed, whispered my name.
Probably the wind, I muttered, but my pulse was still racing. Ms. McLeod appeared in the doorway, arms crossed.
Tim, stop dawdling. Dinner prep starts in 10.
She turned to the sisters.
Ladies? Settles? Good. Ring if you need anything.
As I left, Eliza caught my arm.
Young man, life's full of tricks. Don't let fear fool you. And if you ever feel alone, well, we're all haunted by something.
That evening, service was busy. Americans, mostly, chattering about castles and kilts. Jamie cornered me in the kitchen.
What happened over there? You looked white as a sheet when you came back.
Thought I saw the ghost. It turned out to be Miss Eliza. Her head so low from the osteoporosis. From behind, she looked headless.
You daft prick. It's classic. Wait till Hamish hears.
Hamish did hear. And by closing time, the whole staff was in stitches.
Laddie, you nearly pissed yourself over wee Eliza?
He roared, pulling me a dram.
She's tougher than any spook. Raised 3 barons alone after her man died young. Osteoporosis. Aye, it's a bitch. Eats at your bones like regret. Common in women her age.
I nodded, nursing my whiskey. Felt like an idiot. But talking to her, she's got stories. Makes you think about getting old. Ms. McLeod overheard, softening for once.
Those sisters are like family. Eliza's been through hell. Lost a child to cancer. Buried husbands. But she keeps coming back. That's what haunts this place. Real people. Not ghosts.
The Abernathys stayed 3 nights. I chatted with them over breakfasts. Eliza sharing tales of wartime rationing. Agnes joking about modern dating apps.
You lads have it easy,
Agnes said one morning, buttering toast.
Swipe right. In my day, you danced or died alone.
Eliza leaned in.
But beware of the jitters, Tim. Like a grey lady. Heartbreak's the real killer.